Welcome to the future of marketing, what we're calling the relationship era. Oops, I'm going backwards, right. My name is Ruqayya Jaffrey. I'm an RVP in the digital team here at Salesforce UKI, and I'm going to be giving you an overview of the future of marketing. And then I'm going to do handing over to my fabulous colleagues, Ash and Zaina, who are going to bring all of the goodness to life with a demo. And then we have the fabulous Maria speaking to the even more fabulous F1 to bring it all to life. So let's dive in. What's happening to marketing? What's keeping CMOs awake at night? Now, I used to lead marketing departments and I was a marketeer. And I think it boils down to three main things. Number one, the old traditional ways of marketing, they just don't work anymore. And when I'm talking about the old traditional ways, I'm talking about those operational inefficiencies, that fragmented customer journey, that inability of the marketing department to showcase the ROI. It just doesn't work anymore. And secondly, the MarTech landscape. It's absolutely vast now. It's 100 times bigger than it was 14 years ago. 100 times bigger than 14 years ago. Let that sink in. It is vast. And thirdly, customers themselves. Customers want that ongoing, deep, meaningful relationship with the brands that they interact with. 81% want that versus that one-off transaction. So these are the three layers. This is what's changing in marketing. What's causing these monumental shifts? And essentially, it's AI. Now, what happened is previously, you'd go onto Google, you'd go into your search engine, you would type your question, and you would get all these links. Now, with tools like ChatGPT, you're going on, you're asking your question, and you're getting that deep, meaningful, one-to-one, engaged response quickly. And now, customers want brands to interact with them in exactly the same way. And every brand has to pause and think, are we interacting with our customers in this way? And I'm going to take it a step further. I truly believe that marketing isn't a department anymore. It's every single interaction that a customer is having with your brand. And that could be an online ad. It could be a service chat, a sales call, a loyalty campaign. But all of these moments, they really matter. And what we found is that when you do a campaign and link all of these interactions into that campaign, you get a 45 times higher ROI. Now, that's absolutely astounding for marketeers, 45 times higher ROI. So the takeaway here, those moments matter, but what matters even more is when you can link them all together. So how can Salesforce help? Well, that's where Next-Gen Marketing Cloud comes in. Now, I really want you to think about this because Next-Gen Marketing Cloud is about boosting your existing Marketing Cloud products. It's not about replacing them. It's about making them even better. So, for example, imagine I'm back in my marketing role. I'm trying to do a campaign, and I've lived this, so I know this happens. You're trying to build a campaign. You've got SQL queries. You're ringing your IT department to call in that special favor and get that data over to you. And they send that data to you. And that data is disparate. And you can't see who your customers are. And you can just about forget about personalization. Well, with the Next-Gen Marketing Cloud, it works because it's working from one unified data set, which means you can see your customer, you can see their campaigns, you can see how to interact with them. And that one unified data set is possible because you're getting customer profiles and data, and that can be shared seamlessly across the whole organization. And continuing with the power of one workflow. So I know in marketing, when you're trying to do a cross-channel campaign across various channels, it becomes very manual. And then on top of that, you've got somebody over here doing content on one platform, you've got somebody over there doing orchestration on a completely different platform, and your analytics are over here on a completely different platform. And none of these are talking to each other, and they're not even talking to sales, service, or commerce. So how are you going to drive your revenue? Well, that's where one workflow comes into play, because all your channels and all your departments are working from the same place. And not only that, it has out-of-the-box functionality, which is absolutely incredible and useful to marketeers. And lastly, it would be remiss if I didn't mention Agentforce. You heard Zara talking about it in her keynote this morning. What is Agentforce? It's the next generation of AI autonomous agents. What does it mean to marketeers? Well, you can automate your content, you can automate your campaign, your orchestration, and you can even automate how you optimize the ROI of a campaign. Now, I've worked in marketing, I've worked with hundreds of marketing departments as customers. Every single marketing department, budgets are being cut. You need to optimize that budget to get the greatest ROI. And this is where agents can help. By automating, it means that they can do much more than us humans can do alone. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to my wonderful colleagues, Ash and Zaina, who are going to bring to life with an amazing demo. Give them a massive round of applause.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ash, and this is Zaina. We're both solution engineers here at Salesforce. Zaina, would you like to say hi? Brilliant. Right, so we are going to be running you through 3 demos, basically, over the next 6 to 7 minutes. First thing we're going to show you is how we can optimize campaigns. The second thing we're going to be showing you is how we can build creative and personalize those email campaigns. And then the third thing we're going to be showing you is how we can personalize web experiences. So Zaina, let's jump into the demo. And what I want you to do is optimize meta lead generation campaigns. So while she's doing that, let me talk you through what we're looking at here. We're looking at marketing intelligence, which is our single dashboard, which brings together all of your KPIs from your campaigns in order for you to be able to optimize in that single place. Now, what you can see in the top left-hand corner is AI-generated insight, which is really, really important. In fact, I was on a roundtable earlier, and we were talking about how much they would love to have it. So there it is. Now, what Zaina's done is she's asked Agentforce to optimize campaigns. She's named Meta, and then she's named lead generation. What Agentforce is now doing is it's bringing back all of the campaigns that meet that criteria and then ranking them according to how effective they are. And now we've got the worst performing Meta ads based on click-through rate. And if she wanted to, she could just stop all of those campaigns immediately, thus optimizing her activity. Amazing stuff. Now, in the interest of time, let's jump into campaign creation on Marketing Cloud Advanced. So what we would like to do is create a new campaign for first-time buyers applying for a mortgage. So here we type in a brief for a campaign. So that brief is just going to be people looking to buy a house. And then the agent is going to go ahead and write a brief for that. What we can then do, if we accept it, we could tweak it, but if we accept it, we then turn that into a campaign. This is an example of what the campaign would look like that it creates. Now, it starts with a schedule. If you don't know what a schedule is, that means start now or start at some point in the future. A trigger, which is basically a segment. So in this case, the segment is someone who has shown an interest in financial services products. That segment may be caused by a conversation they've had with the contact center, maybe clicks on the website, maybe engagement with emails, maybe conversations they've had in branch. What we then do is we send content. So the content we're looking at here is email or WhatsApp or SMS. So we're going to go into an email and we're going to personalize that content. So within the email, this is a standard kind of generated email. So it's got an image, it's got some text, but we're going to personalize that text first with some text strings. So Zaina's going to go ahead and pick an attribute in order to insert into there. In this case, we're going to insert the city. That's personalized that text block straight away, really, really quickly. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to personalize the image that's right at the top of that email. So we have different image options for the different APRs that customers are offered. Obviously, if you have a great credit score, you'll get a nicer APR. If you have a less great credit score, maybe not so nice. So perfect. Now that's personalizing that way. Now we want to change the text block that's below that first one for different cohorts of customers. So we have high net worth customers versus kind of mass affluent, your usual kind of net worth customers. So now we've got different bits of content that are relevant to each different type of customer according to their financial status. Brilliant. Thanks, Zaina. Right, so let's jump now into flow. So flow is the way that we orchestrate across messages of different types. So in this flow, there's lots of things that I can show you, but in the interest of time, we're going to show you 3 things. The first thing is channel preference. So here we can split according to the channel with which the customer is most likely to engage. And so we can send them an email, an SMS, a WhatsApp, or even send them through to have an outbound phone call according to the channel they're most likely to engage with. The second thing I want to show you is the fact that we can build business automation into this exact same flow. So here we are looking at the high net worth customers, and we're saying if they take just a couple of actions, maybe click on a specific link, we're going to then qualify them as a lead because we know they're high net worth, there's very low risk. The final thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to the WhatsApp string, and we're going to add an agent there to pick up the conversation if the customer replies to our outbound WhatsApp message. So if the customer replies to our WhatsApp, we want the agent to take over and take them from a lead into a qualified prospect for a mortgage, so maybe booking an appointment with a financial advisor. And Zaina's done that while I've been explaining what that is. Thanks, Zaina. Perfect. Okay, so the final part of our demo today is we're going to personalize web experiences according to engagement with our email content. So this is our Cumulus website. This is the website where you would land if you Googled mortgage officers and you went to Cumulus. Now, what I want us to do is jump across and have a look at what happens if we send them an email and the customer engages with the email. So if we click on this link, I'm pointing down here, by the way, there's a screen. If we click on the link, then we're going to land on a different version of the website, and there's going to be lots of things. So there's recommended articles, 3 different recommended articles for this specific customer. If I clicked on that link, I would get a different 3 recommended articles. Same for Zaina, same for everyone in this room. Dependent on your situation, Salesforce personalization is going to recommend different articles to you. The second thing that it's done is it's changed the banner up the top. So now we've got this get pre-approved call to action, which is going to try and drive the customer to take the action we want to do. The third thing, if we try to navigate away, we're going to get this little web pop-up, which is going to try and, again, push us to schedule our appointment. And then the final thing that we're doing here is we've got this chat window. So in the chat window, what's happening is if the customer types in a query, we're going to get an agent to respond to that query. So in this scenario, what we want the customer to do is they're asking actually about first-time mortgages, anything they need to know about buying their first home. And what the agent is going to do is they're going to respond with really relevant articles to that individual. Again, powered by Salesforce personalization, they know everything about the customer, and now they know the question that they care about most in that moment. What we're then going to do is push them towards trying to book in an appointment. So we say, so when the customer asks to book an appointment with a financial advisor, what we're going to do is suggest financial advisors that are local to the customer based on everything we know about them, and give them the option of a couple of financial advisors. For some reason, this customer's going to pick Robert. I'm not entirely sure why. They both seem very nice. And then the customer just needs to pick a time and they can book in for an appointment. So it's an incredibly simple process to go from a lead all the way through to being booked in for a consultation with a financial advisor. So what we've just seen, marketing optimization of all of our media channels, the personalization of emails and the orchestration of flow, including business processes, and then personalization of web experiences for customers, all within about 5-6 minutes. Can I have a round of applause for Zaina and Agentforce? Thank you. Perfect. So one other note regarding marketing. We have another conference happening today, a few thousand miles away in Chicago. There is going to be further announcements on marketing. This is our marketing-centric conference. So please speak to your Salesforce reps over the next few days about the latest updates. There's going to be even further updates beyond what I've just shown you now. So reach out to your Salesforce contacts and have that conversation. And my final job is to introduce my friend and colleague, Maria Sikau, who's going to be interviewing one of our marquee customers about how they drive the best possible fan engagement.
Thank you, Ash. Well done. And hello, World Tour. I am absolutely delighted to be here with you today, but I am most delighted to be sharing the stage with one of our amazing customers. So please, can you help me welcome to the stage Donna Burkett-Beta, Marketing Director from F1. Welcome, Donna. Hello.
Hello.
Donna, hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Very
And
nice to be here.
yeah, and thank you for being here. So, to kick us off, how about you tell us a little bit about you and your role at F1?
Sure. So I've been at F1 for just about a year, and I'm responsible for marketing globally, which includes everything from research and insights, so looking at our data and trying to drive insights from that data, through to our brand strategy and how we execute that, and includes also acquisition all the way through to retention and monetization. So that's my role at Formula One. As I say, I've been here for about a year, but prior to that, I spent a lot of time outside of the sporting industry. First at Coca-Cola, and then following that at the Walt Disney Company.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start off with our first question. The first one's all around fan expectations. So F1's been undergoing a real transformation in terms of how it engages with its fans. And, can you tell us what are the biggest shifts that you've seen in fan behavior and what excites you most about where that's going?
Yeah, sure. So if we just want to move to the next slide, just to give you a little bit of context, Formula One has been in tremendous growth. We've got about 825 million fans across the globe, and 1 in 3 of those have become fans really over the past 5 years. So we're seeing a tremendous growth. But interestingly, we're seeing that all across the globe. And when I say that, I mean we've got our European markets, which is really our heritage markets, where we've had pretty solid interest for a number of years. But in the case of the US, as an example, we've got about 55 million fans, and many of those have become fans really in the past couple of years. And that's been driven by a few things. One is we've increased the number of races, and so our presence in the market. We've had Austin for a number of years, but we've introduced a race in Miami and then in Las Vegas more recently. And also we've had amazing support from ESPN, who's our broadcast partner, to really help drive that awareness and interest. So we've seen some huge success in the US, and we hope that's going to continue. But in addition to the US, we've got real growth in China as an example, where we are seeing triple-digit growth in that marketplace, and we've seen our social channels, as an example, double over the past year. So a nascent market for us, or that growth is nascent right now, but we are expecting to continue to see that growth ongoing. And then the Middle East, where actually we're bucking the trend from a broadcast standpoint, and in that particular case, across the different markets, we've seen broadcast increase actually more than double over the past year. So that's just a little bit of context in terms of what's happening in F1. But I suppose if we ask, what is it that excites me about the role and the opportunity, I guess broadly speaking, sports in general are becoming more global and more inclusive, and I think that is absolutely wonderful. Not only that, Formula One is really uniquely positioned to succeed, and there are a few different reasons why. The first is that we have that connection into culture. There's a legitimacy there. We've got heritage as it relates to different aspects of culture, whether it's music or fashion or tech. We have that connection, we have that heritage, as I say, and as a result, what we're hearing from fans is they want us to continue to show up in those arenas, in their passion points. So that's one point. The second is around the spectacle. And uniquely for a sport, Formula One has actually been created to view. Whereas many sports, it's all about participation. This is a sport where, if I look around the room, I suspect many of you, in fact, most of you, perhaps none of us, will ever sit in an F1 car or certainly drive that F1 car. It's really been created to view and to enjoy the spectacle. And so as a result, we do really lean into that aspect of the sport. The third piece is around what I call angles and opinions. And by that I mean Formula One is a really complex sport, and there's lots of different ways you can engage in the sport, whether it's drivers or teams, whether it's the weather, whether it's the strategy, tire strategy or strategy more broadly, whether it's the money. There's lots of different ways to really become interested in the sport and in turn to create an opinion about it. And therefore, trying to find a new angle and generate an opinion is something that lots of people do, and there's a real openness to hearing different people's perspectives. And then the last piece is what I call fluid identities. And by that I mean Formula One is unique insofar as it's less tribal, I guess, than other sports. Unlike many sports, it's It's one in which people love the sport in general, but also often have many favorite drivers or many favorite teams, not just one. And so therefore, as someone who's new to the sport, it's much more welcoming than what we see with other sports. So for all those different reasons, I think there's lots of excitement around sport in general and F1 in particular.
Amazing. Thanks, Donna. And those are like some huge growth numbers, certainly a marketer's dream to see that happen. Right, so the next question. When Salesforce and F1, we started our journey together, we recognized that the landscape of fan expectations were evolving quite rapidly. Can you talk us about the types of changes that you've seen in fans and how Salesforce is helping you in terms of reaching those fans in personalized and unique ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So I referenced earlier how Formula One is growing, which is super exciting. But as it's growing, we're really trying to understand who these fans are, understand their attitudes, their interests, and their behaviors. And with Data Cloud, we're able to capture all of that information and host it in one particular area, allowing us to really better understand who these fans are, and importantly, what the value to our business, what value they can bring to our business. So that's one really important aspect. The second aspect is once we have that sort of broad overview of fans, we can ultimately bring all those data points together so we have that single fan view. We really understand who that individual is. And that allows us, therefore, to then segment fans across different areas, again, based on their attitudes, based on their interests, and based on their behaviors. And by segmenting them, we're able to then be able to create personalized communications driven by those interests and those attitudes. So an example might be, there might be one fan who's really interested in performance versus another fan who might be more interested in the lifestyle aspect of Formula One. That fan who's really interested in performance might be a huge fan of Lando Norris. And we might learn from a behavioral standpoint that they spend a lot of time on F1.com or perhaps watching our streaming service. By tailoring or bringing all those data points together to give a single fan view, we begin to start to understand a little bit more about that fan, and then we can start to tailor communications, whether it's email communications, push notifications, or otherwise, in a way that's much more personal. And I think we all agree, we all know that the more personal we can be with our communications, the more relevant and the more likely we are to have these fans stay with us.
Great, and you can see how being able to like personalize that content and even the timing will make your fans feel valued and so connected to the F1 brand at the end of the day. Okay, so in terms of AI, let's talk about AI. We can't leave this stage without talking about AI, right? Talk to me about F1's exploration into the space. And how are you thinking about the role of AI agents in building that scalable yet deeply personal connection with fans? And why is this critical from a marketing point of view?
Yeah, sure. I guess as a starting point, where we have started to explore AI is particularly in customer service. And we've used Agentforce to help us really deal with a lot of those initial queries, the simpler queries, to be honest, allowing our fans to really self-serve. So an example might be if I'm watching F1 TV, which is our streaming service, and I've got questions around having troubles logging in or accessing certain data, I can quickly go into or use our customer service agent and be able to self-serve and be able to respond to that query. What that means is that it then allows our fans to go back to what they want to do, which is spend time on the streaming service watching the race. So that's what we started to do. But I think what's more interesting is where we're headed with this, which is moving from, I talked about, understanding attitudes and interests and behaviors, but moving to more predictive understanding of or predictive view of our fans so that we can start to really anticipate what that next best action is going to be. And what I mean by that is that as we think about our fans, there might be something that's happening, I don't know, with a driver move or something that's happening in the race, and we want to get out and we want to share that information. We want to share that content with our fans. And so by using AI, we might be able to, say, search our database to identify groups of fans that might be particularly interested in whatever's happening out there. will then take some of that information and the insights that we've been able to gather and be able to develop content or even a campaign which will be informed by, say, a type of content that we should use, a type of format, particular language or tone or otherwise, so that we can get that campaign out there in real time, or that piece of content as quickly as possible in real time, and then allow our team to spend more time on the bigger picture items like the strategy or broader creative campaign development. So it really allows us to be really efficient, really effective, and as I say, communicate in a more personalized way closer to real time.
Cool. When I think about these agents for you, I think of them as like your pit crew for fan engagement, right?
I
Like
love
they're
that.
quick, they're precise, they're ready to act and adapt to your fans' needs.
I love that.
In the moment.
And in a matter of seconds. Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Love it.
Okay, so we're very quickly coming to the end of our chat. So as we wrap up, you've been leading F1 through a period of massive innovation, so much growth. So for marketers looking to follow in your footsteps, what would be some lessons or guiding principles that you'd like to share that have shaped your journey?
Yeah, sure. I guess there's a few, if we just move on to the next slide, that I like to think about. The first is always thinking fan first. And irrespective of whether you work in a B2B business or a B2C business, the reality is you need to think about who that end consumer is, that end customer. And so thinking fan first is hugely important. By that I mean, of course, the product has to deliver. There's absolutely no question. But think about what are those daily touch points that you can connect with your fans, your audiences, your customers with, and also where are those moments where you can surprise and delight them. So thinking really about who that end user is incredibly important. The second is to have a commercial mindset. And by that I mean, as marketeers, we like to talk about awareness and engagement. And I guess terms that really the rest of the business may not use on a regular basis. What we need to ensure is that we're talking the language of the boardroom. And by that I mean, we need to think about revenue and margin and lifetime value. And so ensuring that we are translating what we're doing into what's driving the business forward is really important. And I think we heard earlier that marketing is in a really unique position where we see everything from driving that awareness with our fans all the way through to retaining and ultimately monetizing them. And by being able to communicate to the rest of the business in terms and in terminology that they understand helps us to be more effective. And then the third piece is around learning. And I think we all know the importance of learning in an organization and driving that innovation. But I do think when it comes to learning, we need to look not only at ourselves, but outside at our competitors and also what's happening across the broader industry. And as much as we talk about it often, about the importance of learning from failure, I don't often think that we have the confidence to do so. And so I do think it's important to really look back on when at times we haven't been so successful and ensure that we are genuinely learning from that. So those would be the three topics that I would focus on.
Thank you. Well, Donna, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
We have come to the end of our chat, very sadly, very quickly. But thank you to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the entire F1 team. Thank you for your partnership.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Everybody, a round of applause.